use an EQ on your master to amplify your drop. I do this a lot. Let's just say we're going to start at around here and we're going to bring up the frequency all the way to the drop. And then when the drop hits, the drop is going to fucking hit because we bring up the frequency all the way to here. We're creating a massive contrast. Once the drop comes in, this drops, right? It's a drop, like boom. I just hold Option on the Mac and then the bend feature comes in, I just bend it. You don't want to go too overboard with this, but whatever you decide. But let's just have a listen to this now. Sometimes I like to do it like this as well if I want to create more of a contrast. I'm just going to bring it down a bit, maybe to somewhere like here. Okay, you see what I'm saying? Without it, it's just boring. The drop, it still hits, but it's nowhere near as impactful as if I have an EQ automation. You don't have to do this with your master. You can do this with like any track that, you know, whatever sounds cool to you. Sometimes I do it with just the synths, just the plucks, just the leads, just the drums. It depends. It's just an easy way to just make things like impactful. It took me a while to start incorporating autopan into my beats, into my music, but oh my goodness, thankful I am. All right, over here I have a pluck that I've applied autopan to it, and not only have I slapped an autopan on there, I played around with the rate. So if I bring up the automation, as you can see here right before the drop, the rate of the autopan goes up and up and up in increments. Now if you listen to it, it gives this really cool gatey kind of effect. I have tried a few times using the gate plugin. I just don't think it sounds as cool. But really, like, it's really cool if you want to, like, your listener, throw them off course almost, like surprise them, shock them. Autopan is a great, underutilized, in my opinion, feature in Ableton. Keep in mind that this track has not been EQ'd because I'm going to pay someone to mix and master it professionally. I can mix, I can master, but I'd rather just, the diamonds that I have, I'd rather just pay someone else professional who I trust to actually mix it and master it. The next thing I want to talk about is using delay, things like ping pong, to turn short vocal cuts or just vocal shots, such as this one, using these things to kind of fill up the song, to fill up the parts. As you can see here, I have a very long release, 16 bars. Now, because this music, like these songs are long, these songs are meant to be, you know, at least like over 4 or 5 minutes. And you have to be careful about how many elements you add. You usually end up having to work with like the same elements. It usually sounds better that way. But one way to combat this is to use a long release delay. For example, if I play this without the delay, right? It doesn't really ring out. Let's add the delay back. Now, it doesn't have to be 16 bars, it can be 8 bars, but I usually, you know, if it's a short little hit like this, I usually like 8 or 16 bars. Anything below that, you know, it could get like a little bit too rapid, but that's just my style. That's just my opinion. Like, I have like a lot of space to work with. We put the delay back. Hopefully you can hear how it kind of fills up the space without adding in another extra elements. As you can hear, it's still playing. Still playing, even though it's like getting quieter and quieter. So I have that little sample. Now, this by itself It's too abrupt, it just stops. There's no flow. Now, as you can see here, I've just added a simple ping pong delay, 8 bars, let's go. So much better. You don't want your listener to get bored. At the same time, you don't want them to get overwhelmed. The nice thing about these delays is it's not constant. Unless you have like full feedback or something, it's not constant. It goes down over time, but like ever so slightly. The next tip I wish I knew a long time ago is how to filter in something that is a low frequency. Okay, so this, as you can see here, this is low as fuck. What you don't want to do is just go on the default here. This is the default in the Ableton auto filter. You don't want to start off like this. Because it is a low frequency, everything from here to here is just mud. Everything in between here and like about like 100K, 1K, it's just all mud because this is a low frequency. Now, since we have a low frequency, I'm going to go to the high cut option. And instead of bringing it up in frequency, I'm going to bring it down in frequency. So the closer we get towards the drop, the lower the frequency gets, right? So let's just automate this in and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Let's do something like that maybe. This is almost superior to a volume automation because first of all, it's so high at this point, the frequency, that you won't be able to hear it, but you'll still be able to feel it. It'll still like take presence in the track, even though you can't hear it. Now, if you took the volume, if you had like a volume automation going from down to up, that could kind of confuse listeners, have them like bringing up the volume at the start of the track, and then 1 minute in, you're blasting their eardrums out and they're not happy. That's why I like starting with a high frequency when it comes to low frequency elements. For me, for my liking, I would probably bend this over this way just to like have, because I don't want it to get too deep before the drop. I don't want to take anything to take away from the drop. It's just my style. Frequency shift up here. Cool. My next biggest tip is mixing in mono. There's a few ways to mix in mono. Now what you do is you put on a utility in Ableton, but I mean you could do this with any plugin. You can do it with Sonarworks. As you can see here, you can click mono on and off. If all you got is Ableton, just slap on a utility onto the master, and over here you see mono. Click that. Now it's in mono. When you switch to mono, everything sounds sandwiched and squashed, and it really doesn't sound as amazing. But that, as a music producer, not only with mixing is it an incredible help when it comes to mixing your tracks. I found it so helpful in actually deciding what goes into your track and what should come out of your track. I try to mix in mono like 80% of the time. Whenever I remember that, oh fuck, I'm mixing in mono, I'll switch out of mono, back to stereo, and I will just almost treat myself. This also helps song fatigue, beat fatigue, you know, when you're just constantly working, putting all your energy, so much effort into like your tracks, to the point where you eventually end up hating them. And it's not because they're shit. I can't speak for everyone, but like, it's not because they're shit. It's because like, you now think they're shit because you've just heard it over and over and over again. Switching from mono to stereo helps with that a lot. But as I said, when it's all sandwiched together, you can hear things that shouldn't be there and things that should be there so much effortlessly. Because when it's in stereo, there's too much going on that it's like easy for things to get lost in the mix. But when you switch to mono, all of that goes away. It's almost like zooming out. You should strive to mix in mono 80% of the time and treat yourself to stereo like a dessert. You eat too much of that shit, you're gonna end up being unhappy in some form. Guys, thank you for watching. Please subscribe. I hope I brought you a ton of value. Happy producing. Until next time, bye.